Good afternoon all, this is Patricia and I'm traveling for history. I'm in Lake Champlain Maritime Museum today and here to film the Key to Liberty exhibit is the Revolutionary War in the Champlain Valley. Look at this beautiful vessel. Wow. You can see how the cannon are laid out, one at the bow, and this is that slide carriage they were talking about. There's one on the other side. There we go. Another big cannon right here. A smaller one right there. So this is the Philadelphia 3. It's a model through a 1/6 scale, 1998, here at the Lake Champlain Maritime Museum. They have information on building it, and right here, and who Howard P. Hoffman was, who lived from 1921 to 1996. And I recommend that you pause the video to read. Let me zoom in on all this stuff as much as I can. There we go. Beautiful and meticulous. Craftsman, no doubt. Now let me come around and read this sign to you up here in the front. Quote, Lake Champlain is the most historic body of water in the Western Hemisphere. A silver dagger from Canada to the heartland of the American colonies that forged the destiny of France and England in America and of the United States, unquote. And that's from Key to Liberty, 1976, written by Ralph Nading Hill. Trying to back up enough to get the whole anchor in the picture. You see there are maps on the walls, paintings. This is the Philadelphia sinking, assisted by the Galley Washington by Ernest Haas, 1991. Digital inkjet print from acrylic collection, Lake Champlain Maritime Museum. And at the top there, it says, Key to Liberty, the Revolutionary War in the Champlain Valley. By the way, if you visit the Lake Champlain Maritime Museum, they have a gift shop where you can buy all sorts of amazing books. And I dare say, I think my wallet will get a workout today. My financiers are saying, really? Yes, we need these things. All right, quote, we set sail from Skenesboro in a schooner belonging to Major Philip Skene, which we christened Liberty. That's from the Laser Oswald journal, dated May 11, 1775. And although Mr. Oswald is long dead, his words live on. Now, I'm not going to read this entire thing to you, so certainly pause the video as you wish and read it that way. A lot of these storyboards up, but I will share with you the periodic quote at the top. At present, we are masters of the lake, unquote. Benedict Arnold, May 22, 1775. Quote, whether we should march into Canada with an army sufficient to break the power of Governor Carleton has been a great question. It seems that it is best to go if we can be assured that the Canadians will be pleased with it and join us, unquote. That's John Adams to James Warren, June 7, 1775. Quote, Benedict Arnold, who is perfectly skilled in naval affairs, has most nobly undertaken to command our fleet upon the lake. With infinite satisfaction I have commanded the whole of that department to his care, unquote. General Horatio Gates to John Hancock, July 29, 1776. I don't know about you, but when I see this name John Hancock in particular, I think, wow, I can put a quote, a receiver of this letter to the history lessons I had in school. Quote, Governor Carleton ordered a fleet to be built at St. John's on the Richelieu River north of the lake. This site was selected for two reasons. It was a fortified post, and it was above the rapids on the Richelieu, which prevented the passage from the St. Lawrence River south into the lake, unquote. Journal of Baron Riedesel, July 5, 1776. The race for a fleet, quote, I know of no better method than to secure the important posts of Ticonderoga and Crown Point, and by building a number of armed vessels to command the lakes. Otherwise, the forces now in Canada will be brought down upon us as quick as possible. Have nothing to oppose them. They will doubtless try to construct some armed vessels and then endeavor to penetrate the country toward New York. Unquote. Brigadier General John Sullivan to George Washington, June 24, 1776. And let me back up. I love these implements. Holy cow. And now, see, for me, it's the implements that bring things to life. So, what did it take to build the Philadelphia? How many kinds of wood were used? How many nails were used? How much rope did they need for rigging? How do you keep a boat built out of planks from leaking? How many different kinds of crafts people built the ship? Now, I don't know the answers to any of those questions. I think this is for the students who come through here. But I think, and please correct me if I'm wrong, the way you keep a boat, how do you keep a boat built out of planks from leaking is that the planks expand when they're wet. I think that's what happens. They expand so much that they make the ship tight. But please correct me if I'm way off base with that. So I know I have people who know things. What is that? This is a swivel-mounted half-pounder cannon, circa 1776, cast bronze. It's on loan from the Naval History and Heritage Command. This swivel gun, believed to be from Benedict Arnold's 1776 fleet on Lake Champlain, was found in Arnold's Bay in the 1930s. In April 2000, it was offered for sale on the internet, and government officials determined that the gun remained the property of the people of the United States. The seller, Mr. Richard Armstrong, agreed that the gun would be best preserved on public display and transferred it to the Department of the Navy. Initials on the gun, quote, P and S, comma, P, unquote, are believed to stand for pass and stow, the Philadelphia foundry where the Liberty Bell was cast. Further research may ultimately reveal whether the cannon was indeed cast at this historic foundry. Quote, at this critical hour, it is the duty of every well-wisher to his country to exert himself to the utmost, and I hope, gentlemen, that you will be early and late at a work so necessary as the constructing of vessels to maintain our superiority on the lake, unquote. That was General Philip Schuyler to the officers bringing carpenters from Massachusetts and Connecticut, July 4, 1776. The sign is in French as well, en français. French is on the right, English is on the left. Feel free to read at your pleasure. But it does say at the top, Benedict Arnold, an American enigma. Quote, the merit of that officer, Benedict Arnold, is certainly great, and I heartily wish that fortune may distinguish him. He will do everything which prudence and valor will suggest, unquote. George Washington to Philip Schuyler, November 1775. Quote, believe me, if this war continues and Arnold should not be taken off pretty early, he will turn out a great man. He has great vivacity, perseverance, resources, intrepidity, and a cool judgment, unquote. Charles Carroll, Continental Congress delegate to Canada, April 1776. And below that, of course, it says, when Benedict Arnold was an American hero. Let's continue. Wow, look at that. I know I already talked about this just a little bit, how much I love these things. It says these are frames from the Roe Galley Congress. These two, quote-unquote, frames were part of the whole structure of the Roe Galley Congress. Congress was one of 4 similar vessels ordered to be built under Benedict Arnold's supervision at Skenesboro, now Whitehall, New York, in the summer of 1776. Congress took part in the October 11 Battle of Valcour Island, and after the loss of Royal Savage, served as Arnold's flagship. Congress was among the vessels destroyed in Arnold's Bay to prevent their being taken by the British. The wreck remained underwater until 1891, when Edric Adams pulled the stern half of the vessel up onto the shore. Sometime later, the hull was moved to Crown Point for display at the Barnes Tavern. Mrs. Barnes gave the 2 frames displayed here to Colonel Lorenzo Haglund, who raised Arnold's gunboat Philadelphia in 1935. Lake Champlain Maritime Museum is grateful to Hudson and Gloria Haglund for the loan of these 2 frames so they may be exhibited to the public. It talks about the British fleet. I can't get far enough back for you to get this on a straightaway. This is quote, a view of His Majesty's armed vessels on Lake Champlain, October 11, 1776, watercolor Charles Randall, courtesy of the National Archives of Canada. And this is the view of the New England armed vessels in Valcour Bay on Lake Champlain, 11 October 1776, watercolor Charles Randall, courtesy of the National Archives of Canada. And again, I can't really get far enough back. I'm trying to photograph what I can so you can see as much as possible, but not everything is easy. These signs are all en français. And then we have another boat here. Roe Galley, Washington. It's model scale, 1 to 14. Leonard Wanzer, on loan from Roland Wanzer. The galley Washington was built at Skenesboro, now Whitehall, New York, during the summer of 1776. She was one of 4 Spanish galleys, quote-unquote, which Benedict Arnold ordered to be constructed during the shipbuilding race with the British. During the Battle of Valcour Island, the Washington was commanded by General Waterbury, Arnold's second officer. She was the rearmost vessel during the fleet's daring nighttime escape. On October 13, the British fleet caught up with the Washington, quote-unquote, 5 miles below Split Rock and fired upon her. The Washington was so badly damaged she was forced to strike her colors and surrender. The Washington was immediately taken into British service and, according to naval historian Howard Chappell, was re-rigged as a brig. The British made plans of the captured Washington. She was 72 feet 4 inches on deck, 20 feet 0 inches beam, and a 6 foot 2 inch in the hold. This model was made using plans developed by Howard Chappell from the original British drawings. See if I can capture that so you can read it. That may be a titch better. Well, wonder what this is. Let's see what it says. Gunboat, New York, stem. Now you can read that on your own. The gunboat, New York, was the only American gunboat to survive the Battle of Valcour Island. The vessel was burned in 1777 by the Americans to prevent its capture by the British. The hulk was unearthed in 1910 during the excavation of the Champlain Barge Canal in Whitehall, New York. The boat's stem was salvaged and is now in the collection of the Lake Champlain Maritime Museum. It was a gift of Ernest E. Gould. And look at this. Wow. Behind us, there's this cannon here, clearly fragments. Let's see if I can tell you about this. Cannon carriage fragments. When the gunboat New York's cannon exploded, the carriage holding the gun was ripped to pieces. 6 carriage pieces had been located. These pieces were thrown overboard after the explosion as the crew cleared the decks. The largest piece of the carriage is the left cheek. I'm guessing they mean that, maybe. The bolts running down through the cheek are bent from the cannon's explosion. Interestingly, the cannon carriage was designed for a larger cannon. The metal bracket on the top of the cheek is too large to securely hold the trunnion of a 6-pound cannon. This mismatching of equipment was the result of the shortage of supplies while the American fleet was being built in the summer of 1776. The poor fit between the cannon's trunnion and the bracket was solved by wrapping the cannon's trunnion in a sheet of lead to increase its diameter. Numbers 1 through 4 on the underwater battlefield map note the locations where the carriage fragments were discovered. Since I already know that I'm going to forget about the cheat part, those who listen to this and watch and listen to this video, if you'd be kind enough to jump in and say, hey, this is what they mean, I would love that. I would really appreciate that. It would make my day. Another painting. And then we have the Memento Mori, a headstone here. And you may certainly read that at your leisure. Another beautiful painting. And this is Battle of Valcour Island by Ernst Haas, acrylic, 1999, gift to Mildred Payne and family. I always appreciate when people gift things to museums, or at least have them on loan to museums, so that all of us can see them. Alrighty, let's take a look-see at this. Now, notice there are signs everywhere that says, please do not touch. I'm surprised they don't have this under some sort of plexiglass cover, but what does this sign over here say? Revolutionary War, Great Bridge, 1777. Detailed plan of Ticonderoga and Mount Independence. That would be these two right here. And then the caisson 2 on the right. And whatever is showing on the left. Let's see. Site name, Great Bridge. Site type, bridge footings. Year built, 1777. Builder, Colonel Jonathan Baldwin. Although not a shipwreck, the Revolutionary War Great Bridge represents one of Lake Champlain's most interesting underwater archaeological sites. In the winter of 1777, American forces built the Great Bridge across Lake Champlain between Fort Ticonderoga in New York and the new fortification across the lake at Mount Independence in Vermont. The base of the bridge was made of 22 caissons, or stone-filled log cabin-like structures. Each caisson was approximately 24 feet square and stood some 10 to 20 feet tall. The caissons were built on top of the frozen lake and sunk using some stone ballast. A floating footbridge was constructed with chain to the caissons, allowing men and equipment to move between the forts. In the spring of 1777, the British Army captured Fort Ticonderoga and Mount Independence and destroyed the floating footbridge. However, they left the caissons, and all but one still exists today. The other side of the sign is en français again. Oh, all right, so these are the caissons they're talking about here. And that's a rendering, of course. So, fascinating stuff. And this shows us what those caissons are, what they look like. Amazing. Alrighty, well, this is Patricia and I'm traveling for history. Hope you've enjoyed a tour of most of this exhibit, The Key to Liberty, at the Lake Champlain Maritime Museum, which is free and open to the public. Free. It's free all the time. So, I didn't show you all of it because I'd like you to come and visit. See this place on your own, read all these great signs, all this great stuff. And until I see you again, thank you so much for watching. I truly appreciate it. Hope you have a fabulous rest of your day.